Welcome to another episode of the Off Leash podcast with Dr. Pete. I'm your co-host Molly. We're so glad that you joined us for today's show. Remember, we're never here to say what you want us to say. We're just here to be an advocate for your pet.
Correct.
Yeah. So my little dachshund jumped up on the table and was trying to eat a piece of the burger, and I caught it just in time. So she's naughty.
Very naughty.
She's only naughty when she goes over to your house, though. I think it has a direct correlation to do with Sharon.
Yep.
And not disciplining
your
dogs.
Mother,
my mother.
That's correct.
And yeah, we also had a dog almost eat a chicken.
Tried to eat a chicken.
Well, she brought Bosco out, and Bosco's a Boykin Spaniel. And we were like, don't, and you even said it.
Does not listen. And I said, don't take him down there. There's chickens that are loose down there.
And she goes, he'll be fine. And then she walked by me, and I also said, Bosco's going to try to kill a chicken. No, he won't. He's nice. And then 30 seconds later, you just hear, Bosco! And you hear him running after.
Everybody yelling at Bosco. That's right.
That was funny.
Yep.
I'm not going to, it wasn't funny for the chicken, but it was funny for me. It was funny for Ben and I because we were walking
Didn't kill
out.
the chicken, just...
No. My friend Ben was over looking at my van, and he was like, it's almost like you predicted that. And I said, yeah, that's crazy. There was subtle foreshadowing in that event. What else is new in your world?
Oh, not much. Long holiday, so I have 4 days off in a row, which is, back in the old days, that never happened. Because we carried a pager and made, went on calls and did all that sort of stuff. But nowadays, stuff that occurs after hours goes to the emergency clinic. Standard of care has changed. And a standard of care back then was you walked in and looked at them, and then you decided whether they should stay or not stay. Yeah. And
it's a whole thing.
And most of the time, they went home with the clients because the clients could keep a closer eye on them.
Yeah, it was overall just a busy week.
Yep.
Good numbers over the past month.
Well, we're starting to create a movement.
Yeah.
And the movement is, and listen, there's scientific data. Sometimes people say stuff. They'll say stuff in their advertisements, excuse me, and they'll say stuff in their literature and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Pretty much everything we say is based on fact and peer-reviewed articles.
Yes.
So, we're at that point in our career here is like, we think, we did calculations. We think dogs with copper staining in the livers are probably around 38% of the dogs, and those are the dogs to be over 6 years of age, even some of the ones less than 6 years of age. So are they all going to die? No.
It just depends on how much is accumulated and whether the dog.
2% of them are going to have serious problems, or maybe
2%.
Well, 2 to 5% maybe, but that's a lot of dogs. That's anywhere from 500, actually 600 to 250,000 dogs.
But about 17% will have staining in their liver.
17%?
I thought you said it was 17%.
38%.
30. That's it. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Way higher.
And that's are the dogs that were fed diets with copper sulfate and proteinaceous copper in it.
Correct.
The dogs that were on our food,
that had very low staining, hardly any.
Hardly any. That's right.
Yeah.
They came out 0.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
0 out of 13.
Yeah.
I mean, there were 13 dogs all scored 0.
Yes.
Yep.
And they were all pretty much on our food.
Yes, they were.
Okay. So it's summertime, obviously. Finally, the temperatures are getting up. We had such a cold May. May,
yep.
Which was ridiculous. But with the warmer weather and it being summer, we're going to see more fireworks this year.
Yep.
And I know Bosco hates fireworks. I don't think any of my dogs really care.
Yeah, they don't like thunderstorms. They don't like fireworks.
So
There's dogs that have noise aversion.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what to do when your dog has a sound aversion to something.
Well, so we know that when there's warnings on the TV that probably something's headed your way.
Like a tornado or something, or like a storm?
Or a thunderstorm, that's right. And so when it gets to be about 100 miles away, they put stuff on the TV. Well, if it's going 50 miles an hour, it's going to be there in 2 hours. So what we suggest people do is if their dogs don't have a problem with thunderstorms, we don't do anything.
Yeah.
At tender loving neglect, TLNC, tender loving neglect.
Tender loving neglect.
Yeah. So TLN, sorry.
That's what my dogs get.
Tender loving neglect, TLN. So then what we would suggest you do is we use a combination. We used to use acepromazine, which is Thorazine type derivative, and
Yeah.
the dogs were all kind of blurry eyed, and some of them I worked on, some of them didn't. The biggest thing clients need to know is that they need to give these drugs 2 hours before the event. In other words, you're going to shoot fireworks off at 10 o'clock at night, then your dog probably needs to take these around 7:30. So he or she is gassed when everything starts.
I'm looking up how many dogs have fear.
Phobias, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty common, I think. 20 to 40%.
So they can have anxieties about all sorts of stuff.
It says around 1 in 3 dogs have some form of storm anxiety or noise anxiety.
Yep. So you got those dogs. So what we used to do is use Thorazines, and then a lot of people would have them on Prozac or things like that, and that really didn't work.
Question. It says severe thunderstorm phobia may affect roughly 10 to 15. What is extreme? Severe?
Well, it's severe. Not
what do
so
they
much,
do? I guess I've never been around a dog that has severe.
Well, they if they're in a crater cage, you try to dig their way out. And we had one dog that used to go get stuck behind the water heater, jam herself in there and try to get out of the way.
That's so sad.
That's Sunny. Yep, she was a nice dog. Anyway, what you got to do is you got to go ahead. And nowadays, what we do is we put them on. Usually, we put them on Gabatraz, which is trazodone and gabapentin. Now, we're not allowed to, they make it in a pill, a compounded pill, and we'd use that for years, but now you have to have specific, in other words, you're going to have it compounded. You have a dog and you write a script for it and they compound it. And it's a lot more expensive. But you can buy gabapentin and trazodone, and there's ways you do it. 200 milligrams of gabapentin, 100 milligrams of trazodone is enough for about a 44-pound dog.
Right.
So 400 and 200 would be for an 88-pound dog. And then you can do the math from there and in. But you got to give this stuff to them. And I like the way that stuff works because they're like Alfred E. Newman, who was a character in Mad Magazine. His motto was, "What? Me worry? Question mark, question mark, question mark." And that's what you want to do. You want to have them in that Alfred E. Newman state. What me worry. And but sometimes what I suggest to clients is, before you wait for the storm, why don't we just have a dry run? So maybe 2 nights from now, there's some things you can do. You can't really replicate the storm, but you could give the pills at 6 o'clock at night, and then have the neighbors come over at 8 o'clock and see how much anxiety that dog exhibits when they're under the influence. And I really like that combination of drugs, gabapentin and trazodone. Yeah. I don't like trazodone all by itself, and I don't like gabapentin all by itself. But I think, it's really nice when you use it like that.
Yes, I agree.
Sometimes you got to look at it, and you're in essence making a cocktail. Yeah. There's grapefruit juice and vodka. And the vodka by itself doesn't taste very good. And really, even the grapefruit juice doesn't taste all that great by itself. But you put two together, it's not too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what you're going to do. You're going to make them that's called a greyhound, by the way. Yeah, vodka and grapefruit juice, they call it a greyhound because it's kind of gray. Anyway, so then
sounds gross.
Yeah, and really, it's just like a greyhound that, you have to drink it, with a certain amount of time if you want a certain amount of the results from having grapefruit juice and vodka or Gabatraz. You go ahead and do that, and then you know what they're going to be like. Same way as when you're going to go for a car ride.
You want to give it to them. A
lot of people's dogs are really anxious. They're anxious when they load up the suitcases and stuff, and then they're going to go to Florida. Well, then the dog's in the car and anxious about going to Florida or going to Arizona or wherever they're going to go. They have anxieties about it. So we're in Michigan. You should have a trial run of this stuff where you give the medication, wait 2 hours, and then take them for a car ride about an hour away and drive back. See how it works, and then you can kind of titrate the dose if you need more.
Yeah, I've never had a dog with car anxiety like that.
No.
All my dogs ride. Well, they ride with me since they're puppies.
Well, they'd rather ride than stay home.
Yeah. They hate staying home. I just texted my neighbor. I was like, "Can you let my dogs out?" Because I have not been home yet to do it.
Yeah. Will Jade or Potatoes stay put?
No, she was actually just texting me about that. She's like, will Jade listen? And I said, probably not.
Then don't let her out. Well, you got to let her out.
You got to let her out. I said, if there's a leash there, just put the leash on her. Or just yell at her.
Yep. Or put her collar on.
Well, she's got a little zap collar, but it doesn't. If she's chasing after something, it doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything? Nope.
No.
So anyway,
she's a little shit.
That's what I do for storms. And
what about the natural remedies?
I don't think the natural remedies have enough oomph to them.
What is the...
it depends on what kind of anxiety your dog's. Your dog has a little bit of anxiety.
What about CBD?
You could do that for a little bit of anxiety.
Okay.
But, or you could do a little bit of, I suppose you could even do a little bit of Prozac for a few days for a little bit of anxieties.
Okay. Here it says in my research, during storms, create a safe space that your dogs feel protected, like a covered crate or an interior bedroom or closet.
It has no windows.
Helpful additions are like a thick blanket, a sound machine, fans. It's not really saying anything about. It says you can do desensitization training, which is like play thunder recordings at a low volume. Does that? No, you're rolling your eyes. Does this not work?
It's a lot of work, and we used to talk about that. There's a thing. Well, it's called flooding. Is what that is. It's flooding.
Take them to the fair.
Yeah. Well, I used to joke with clients like their dog had anxieties. I said, "Go get yourself a bratwurst wagon and take them to all the county fairs for a summer." And then, they'll have the tilt-a-whirl and all the music. And
that would just freak dogs out. But then eventually it's like too much.
The tractor pulls, the demolition derby, and all those screaming kids and on rides screaming and everything. Yeah, well, that desensitized the dog. Yeah, they'll have a rough week, but after that, it'll be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I've gone through Vietnam. I'm fine.
Yeah, well, I used to be afraid of the Ferris wheel, but you just have to go on it enough, and then... It's like
this one says don't flood them.
It says don't flood them.
It says making them endure it. But I get it though. I do agree with you that flooding does work because I've done it with my dog. My dog was really socially weird for a while, and I was like, oh, we're going everywhere. Lowe's, Menards.
Right. Well, it'd be like if you took them to a family picnic and they got all screwy about it, and then go to a college football game with 60,000 or 80,000 people there. Oh, no, it's all a completely different deal now. There's way too much stuff to be, and I'm not sure who says not to flood them, but, behaviorists, it's kind of a weird deal is that, they disagree on a lot of stuff, even amongst themselves.
Yeah.
But flooding is like if you were had anxieties over seeing a balloon, it's like, oh, it's a balloon, I'm scared. You walk in the room with 30 of them. Oh,
you just leave with trauma.
You can't focus on anything. Can't focus on a balloon.
Yeah.
There's too many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just traumatize them.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well,
I'm all about it.
Yeah. Well, the flooding thing, they used to do this thing where dogs had separation anxiety when you left the house. So we should wait till a Saturday morning and go, brush your teeth, put your coat on, walk out the door, drive down the street, come back, take your coat off, set your coat down.
The dog's like, wait.
Sit down. You get something to drink, then put your coat back on, go back in the car. You could do that for 2 hours, and the dog's like, the son of a bitch isn't even going to go anyplace. Yeah, and then they're like, and all of a sudden they're not as anxious about you being gone because you came back so quickly. And
because you're doing it over and over
and over again. And then you came back for the last time, you stayed there. So
and they're like, oh.
They're like, yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
It's no big deal. But
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, so I think there is flooding. Like when I walk into a room, we have chairs in the room, and a lot of times the dog's sitting next to the person in the chair. And I walk in, I'm tall, they're sitting down. I look at the owner and say hello, and we talk a little bit. A lot of times I'll walk over and I'll sit down myself behind the exam table, and then we'll talk for a little bit. And then the dogs are like, oh, I guess it's
not that bad.
Not that bad. I guess maybe I'm not even the reason we're here today. Well, you are the reason we're here today, but we just haven't got around to you yet. And then a lot of times with some of these dogs that have anxieties, we'll take them in the back room and do the work or do the exam when the client's not around. Because once the client's not around, some of them get worse, but a lot of them are much, much better when the client's not there because they're like, oh, I just need to get through this without anything happening to me. So they're just like, oh, gut it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they gut it out.
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
do fine. They do fine. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's this. We've had a lot of storms lately, so this is definitely helpful information for dogs that have a lot of anxiety with storms and fireworks.
Yeah, and the worst thing is the fireworks thing. You know, when the 4th of July comes, it isn't just the 4th of July. It's the 2nd of July, the 3rd of July, 4th.
People are setting that thing off until they run out of fireworks.
And you see people buying all this stuff, and they're just taking anxieties home to the neighborhood pets. But and the worst thing is this can go on. You know, some of these Hanyaks will stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning shooting stuff off. Yeah,
all part of it.
Yeah,
America.
Yeah, sorry. And it's going to be 250 years this year, so maybe it'll be more. Who knows? But I think that's one of those things you're going to have to go ahead and figure out. You know, what's the combination to your dog?
Exactly.
Yeah. Cats don't seem to have as many problems with this as dogs. They just go sit under the bed.
Yeah.
And get away from. Yeah.
Cats are interesting.
Yep.
Well, is there anything else you want to touch on with this
topic? No,
topic?
not really. But I mean, the dry run thing's a big deal. Figure out what the dosage, what it's going to take to do this. Because
don't just be dosing up your dog.
Well, if you say if you took them on a thing and you know a pill wasn't enough, then it's a pill and a quarter. Try that. Try that the following day, and then see where your sweet spot is with this dog, or maybe it's 3/4 of a tablet, and then you can repeat that.
Yeah. Well,
you know, during the times, what you can't do, you can't wait for them to go ape.
And then
you can't get them that hyped up and then expect the drugs to do the work.
Well, I'll kind of give an example. If you just want to train this out of your dog, like when I first started training hunting dogs, you wouldn't just take a dog out into the field and shoot a gun. What I would do is I would associate the sound or the action with something positive. So she loves retrieving. So I'd sit out there with a bumper and then I'd have somebody go 200-300 yards away with like a small gun. And then I'd have them shoot, retrieve. And then she was so worried. She was like kind of worried about the gun, but she was more so like, oh, I get a retrieve out of this. This is cool. And then I'd have them come closer and closer and closer. I can imagine doing this with fireworks. You just get like a small firework, like one of those little bottle rocket things.
Lady fingers.
Or something. Pop that off like way far away from the dog so that they can notice it. Treat. Like, so it's associated with a positive thing.
I agree. And I think that, but the problem with some of the stuff, the fireworks, you can't replicate that. Boom.
Well, you move up from the you go from lady fingers to maybe like a bigger bottle rocket to what are those things called?
What do you call them? M80s or cherry bombs.
Yeah, whatever. And then you go from
silver salutes. I had all sorts of this stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah, but you keep
against
going.
The law now.
You keep going up with it until the dog obviously doesn't have a reaction because you're sitting there while you set off a firework. Good boy, good girl, whatever. Giving them treats, loving on them, and then they're like, oh, it's a positive thing. So they're more focused on like the positivity and the good reinforcement and the treats rather than the sound itself. So then when there are fireworks that go off when it's on a bigger caliber, giving treats or peanut butter or just reinforcing that they mean a good thing and it's not something to be scared of.
Well, just for the record, I mean, we went to Aruba one year over New Year's, and I mean, they shot off so much fireworks down there for New Year's. They don't have an Independence Day, I don't believe. Anyway, the streets were just
littered.
Ankle deep in all the papers floating around from that thing. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, and apparently there's enough of that stuff that goes on in Aruba maybe that the dogs don't get too excited about it. I don't know.
Probably it happens quite frequently.
Yeah, it does.
Well, you ready to get some outro music going for today?
Yep. And I guess the take-home thing on this was have a dry run.
Have a dry run.
Have a dry run. Put that dog in a car. Put that dog in the sort of circumstances you think
that would cause this. Yep. Well, we sure appreciate you guys listening along with us today. We hope we've been able to share some good information that will help you love your animals as much as they love you. Don't forget, always treat the treatable, prevent the preventable, and we will catch you on the next episode.
You got it.